Take heed, Nemo. Our blessed Domin honors us with a visit. Though, may the...
The Dark City released us from its thorny embrace. The wounds of the body will heal. But what about the wounds of the soul? Crudarach fell, and its demise shattered the fragile lives of countless children of Osirian. Scattered across this part of the galaxy, hounded by the monkey, pursued by the Dark Cousins, imprisoned by the servants of She Who Thirsts. Hatred is strangling me like a snake, and fear is coursing through my body like a burning poison. For the path I chose is leading me down the roads of failure. I can neither hold back my grief nor rein in my anger. And yet, I am powerless to stray from my path. Pay no heed to my fleeting wrath, Alantark. When the will slips away, the soul trembles with rampant emotions. But I will resign my heart to meekness, for there is no other way a marked outcast can help their fellow Eldari wandering in the dark. As soon as Eklendil gathers his strength, he will depart the Lilithon through the Webway Gate. Do not ask where his path takes him. He follows the road of his own destiny. It is as it should be. I have no need for your sympathy, Alantark. Besides, neither Monkey nor my dark kin found the decaying remnants of Crudarach. Perhaps all is not lost. Perhaps we may yet bring back what has been taken. I found myself in the Dark City after following the twisted roads of truth and lies. And although the truth blossomed like an ugly bud and scratched my soul with its thorns, I did find the answers to my questions. Those who come back from the dark of the Webway will never be the same. But it is we who change while the surrounding world remains imminent. This thought gives me strength. On the trail of a monkey called Caligos Winterscale, even a worm may harm a wounded tiger by bringing infection into an open wound. And the wounds of my people have been bleeding ever since Crudarach's demise. The spirits of my kin need a poultice, a hope, not the executioner's sword already poised to fall. You may try.
I had no intention of ending my days playing the role of meat in the arena. And then you blithely offered me an alliance after what I'd done to you. Why? That is true. But I'm not merely a hireling. It is strange you did not consider that when you offered me an alliance. But it does not matter. Ask your questions. I will decide which is worthy of an answer. The Draken is the first among the blades of the Cabal of the Reaving Tempest, and the Drukhari who stands but one rung below the Archon. The Draken leads raids and wages wars against other Cabals, keeps the arrogant true-born and half-born upstarts at bay, and has the pick of any opponent in any battle. Irimeris used to have others in her inner circle, but I ensured that they all disappeared one by one, and that their successors were too terrified to take their place. That was when my sister engaged an incubi order to serve as her bodyguards. Incubi do not respond to fear or bribes. Must there be another reason beyond survival and ambition? Komorra does not tolerate weakness. Komorra respects only strength and cunning. Either you climb upward on the corpses of your enemies, or you become one of the steps underfoot. Keep your arrogance in check. Irimeris was clever and deadly, and if I had underestimated her abilities and strength, I would have been food for the Urguls long ago. The very fact that she surpassed me speaks for itself. I refused to give her cause to cast me out as a traitor. No, our rivalry, our little game that ran since our birth, took time. And another thing, when you're at the top, you need something to stave off boredom. This game amused us and terrorized the rest of the Cabal. The Cabal of the Black Heart is the most ancient of all the Cabals, and the largest. It casts a shadow over all Komorra, and when the Black Heart strikes, you submit or you die. The Reaving Tempest was not prepared to perish, so when the Black Heart's shadow stretched as far as us, Irimeris' predecessors chose to bend the knee and become their vassals. Irimeris never liked the Cabal's subordinate position. Her words, and sometimes her actions, directed against the Black Heart, prompted whispers of discontent and fear among those who served her. I was not willing to renounce the protection of Asdrubal Vekt's own Cabal. If I had succeeded in overthrowing Irimeris with Nazrakay's aid, many within the Reaving Tempest would have supported me. Tavantius was Irimeris' ally, not mine. The Reaving Tempest is his patron, and patron also to the Witches of the Arena. I have had cause to seek out his artistry several times, and each time with difficulty. Of late, he's been gone from Komorra more often than he's been in it. He was probably in one of his lairs where he hides his other experiments and creations. After Tavantius quarreled with the Witches and was stripped of the Cabal's protection, his havens in Komorra were turned into a deadly trap. I imagine they've been ransacked and destroyed by now. His other hideouts may be somewhere in the tangle of the Webway, or in real space. But that last possibility is madness even for a homunculus. When the grotesque of a rival Cabal ripped my arm off at the shoulder, when I needed a substance to wring the truth out of you in the Obsidian Court, when I had personal desires that only a master of flesh could satisfy. You are just dying to know, aren't you? It was a punishment. One of my raids was not as successful as it should have been, and Erimeris ordered Tavantius to forcibly implant the knowledge of the repulsive monkey language into my mind. Supposedly so that I could at least benefit the Cabal by coaxing the monkey into their cages. 5 days I spent under a cerebral burner in the Spire's main hall. To the delight of Erimeris' entourage, I dislocated every joint, struggling in agony against my shackles. But I would endure it all again to expel this poison from my head. It is a caste in Camorra. Noble Drukhari born under certain circumstances. Their cradle before birth was not an amniotic gestational tube, but a living womb. Carrying a fetus for such a lengthy term is as good as a death sentence for a female Drukhari. She is too vulnerable to her enemy's attacks, and she is of no use on a raid. In Camorra, only the most powerful Drukhari, who are able to surround themselves with the best protection, can allow themselves such an extravagance. Farkaza Aziriesh, poisoner of Azdrujar, and Shaimish's elect, was one such exalted leader of the Drukhari. The result was worth the effort. Eviscerator of Illyridas, Blaze of the Barkag Kingdom, and Slayer of Corocius the Pale. Illyridas was a world inhabited by our distant Eldari cousins, until I led a reaping raid there. The Barkag Kingdom was a separate cluster on the fringes of Camorra before it went to war with the Reaving Tempest, and by the time I left, I was wading through the blood of its inhabitants. And lastly, Corocius the Pale. He was an ancient homunculus who betrayed the Aziriesh at the behest of another Cabal. That was not a military victory, but a personal one. In his attempts to make himself invincible, Corocius had sown inside himself the deadliest creatures from the depths of Camorra. It did not save him. I cut out every one of his 8 hearts and sent them to his former coven as a warning to the rest. An amusing example of a primitive mind. Any Drukhari towers over any monkey, and we do not conceal our attitude to livestock, but my Kabbalite kin. Every one of them should be treated with caution, and those who have already demonstrated their power and might are a deadly threat in their own right. I do not revel in submission. I accept things as they are. And I wait until a point of weakness reveals itself and calls to my blade. Are you sure? The Dark City is the bastion of the Drukhari, the most magnificent of all our strongholds. The Cabals, witch cults, and the Incubi inhabit the place, with swarms of scourges flying overhead and a myriad of misfits and horrors, including the covens of the homunculi wallowing underfoot. Which do you want to know about? The aloof Incubi. They dedicate their lives to the art of killing, so much so that they do not plot or chase after delicious torment. All their hatred and longing for suffering are channeled toward perfecting their skill. The Cabals are the foundation upon which rests the power of the one who rules Camorra, Asdrubal Vecht. Whether it is a mob of berserkers or an organized cartel, their essence is the same. An army of killers, ready to ravage entire worlds at the behest of their leaders, or to rip out the throats of a neighboring cabal in a war declared by the Archons. What more do you need to know that you have not already beheld with your own eyes? They are the mistresses of the arenas, and they're the gladiators who feed the audience in their ravenous agony with exquisite spectacles. Cults often travel to real space on the Cabal's raids to revel in the pain and to capture fresh meat for their arenas. Winged Drukhari, who have chosen to go through an agonizing process to become such a monstrosity. They escort raiding ships and inflict the first strike on the enemy. In Camorra, these creatures huddled in flocks so that they do not fall victim to the more formidable of their kin. Artists of the flesh who prefer to hide away in their laboratories and create nightmares from the materials their servants supply. Engines of pain, grotesques, racks, all are the fruits of their subtle craft. Then what else do you need to know? What exactly do you want to know? In all ways, the Asuryani are feeble shadows of our ancestors. We are their true inheritors. The Asuryani hide from she who thirsts behind their paths, relying on the visions of their precious Farseers, or blind to the reality around them. We Drukhari laugh in the face of the unknown. We thrive off the carnage and pain we inflict. Because the ecstasy of suffering is the highest form of pleasure, accessible only to superior beings. By your very nature, creatures like you are incapable of knowing such gratification. Careful. My tolerance for such remarks will run out eventually, even given your depressingly simplistic mind and non-existent instinct for self-preservation. Watch it. It is Monkey who run and hide, not our kin. Camorra is the legacy of our ancestors. They found a way to penetrate the tangle of the webway and move through its twisting labyrinths. Few would hazard to travel in this splintered kingdom, let alone erect bastions in it. The Drukhari are the only Eldari who do not fear the horrors of the webway. For every peril we overcome makes us stronger. No. Speaks of the Overlord of Camorra without good reason. Amusing you is certainly not reason enough. Perhaps. What else? I must adapt to my new circumstances. And to this bucket that you monkey call a void ship. These alloy bulkheads. So primitive. Then go. I will find something to amuse myself with. Rogue trader. Then go.
Words cannot describe how boring the bridge is. I regret that I failed to see Iliad's designs through the prism of my own powers, Lord Captain. But now, I think I'm beginning to understand the Xenos' intentions a little better. Their lies, their fear, their fury. Now Iliad's colors are woven together in my eyes into a single, garish tapestry of alien emotions. And though its shining makes my eyes bleed, I see the way Iliad dissolves into the whiteness of grief every time she speaks of home. And the way crimson flashes electrify the air every time her betrayal is mentioned. Jai continues to envelop herself in the variegation of her habitual masks, changing her colors at will like so many garments. But deep within her heart trembles a timid seedling the color of smoky lilies. It is grimy, burnt, and covered in ash. But it is genuine. Who knows? Perhaps one day Jai will allow it to grow and blossom. The fire of a rising sun illuminates Ulfar's face. A blaze so incandescent, it is painful to look at. But whenever the fire subsides, even for a second, at once an undercoat of dismal grayness and repulsive green haze envelops his shoulders. No one around him notices it. But I see. Drukhari, Maradai. Eldari hues are always too bright. They stupefy the mind. But with this Xenos, I can only see billowing darkness where his heart should be. Nay, 1,000 shades of darkness. From a slate-colored haze to the midnight black of a starless sky. I prefer not to peer into the gloom of his colors, Lord Captain. Lest it swallow me whole. I have enjoyed your company.
Broke free the bold from captors grasping. Dark cities, feeble dungeons, eternally disgracing. Flows now this saga in the hall of glorious feasting, where all extol the wolf mighty, and the yet fatter cunning. I hope you're not going to put off the feast. Our escape demands a grand celebration. Find my pack. As we speak, they are likely performing some bloody service for Calcazar. For that reason, I want to have a word with the Inquisitor. Fenris Hilda, et Vater.
To what do I owe this visit?
You are spoiling me with the splendor of your... Oh.
What lies beyond? one step at a time, amidst the madness.